A mega merger in the lithium sector sends stocks soaring. Reserve Bank research says there's only a 50% chance of avoiding a recession if it wants to get inflation down quickly. And Australia's Trade Minister heads to Beijing hoping to patch up relations. It's Friday, the 12th of May, 2023. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sends stocks soaring.
Sector sends stocks soaring.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Well done. You got through it, though.
Thank you. Yeah, with a little bit of difficulty, but I got there. Sean, after the show, you've got a really good chat coming up with Aaron McEwen, who is the Vice President of Research and Advisory for Gartner's HR practice. This is a good chat.
Yes, it's a great chat. In fact, he told me something I didn't know. There's a fourth wave of the pandemic, and that's the psychological effect of the pandemic. So we have a great chat about employees at work, how their financial and physical wellness is going, what's driving this fourth wave of the pandemic. Fascinating insight into the labour market at the moment.
Yeah, it's worth sticking around for. It's coming up a little bit later on. But the main story this morning, Sean, Australian lithium miner Lithium has signed a merger deal with New York Stock Exchange listed Livent to create one of the world's biggest lithium miners.
The $16 billion merger highlights just how hot the lithium sector is, notwithstanding the price of the metal has dropped by 2/3 since late last year. Lithium is used in batteries, and they are a critical component of the greening of the world, really. Car makers have led the charge, pardon the pun.
No, I do not pardon the pun, John. That is, it needs to be highlighted. That was terrible.
Right. I'll take it out. Car makers have led the way to do deals with the lithium miners. Now, they're desperate for their output. The deal announced in the US is based on the need for producers to get bigger faster, and the new company will be the third largest in the world. It will have assets in Australia, Argentina, and Canada. It will have a new name, which means Lithium, which until 2021 was called Orocobre, will have its third moniker in just 3 years, and it will be able to supply customers with the three main lithium products: spodumene, lithium carbonate, and lithium hydroxide. Now, spodumene is the stuff that they use for batteries. Lithium carbonate is the medical use, mood disorders and things like that. And then the hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, is all about salts and fatty acids. Not many companies around the world can supply all three, so this will be a real competitive advantage for the new company.
So Orocobre, Lithium, and now something else.
Yeah.
Let's hope that third name tells you what the company does.
Oh, no. It has to start with a vowel. That's all that matters.
No, as long as it's got the word, like, I don't know, maybe lithium in the title somewhere, I'll be okay. Because it's just those companies that just kind of have that air of mystery because you don't really know what they are. Orocobre, what does that tell you?
Not much.
No, it doesn't. Now, Sean, do investors like this deal? And I suppose the follow-up question to that is, are we going to see more?
Yeah, so it seems that investors like it. Allcom's share price jumped 16% yesterday to $14.94. It's up about 50% in the past 6 weeks. The other lithium stocks benefited from the announcement. Lake Resources, that doesn't tell you what it does. It's a lithium miner. It jumped 12%, while there are big increases in Sayona mining. That doesn't. Core Lithium?
Yeah, I'll give that one a pass mark.
Pilbara Minerals.
Oh, well, I'm assuming that it's minerals.
True. Anyway, those stocks all jumped. Now, countries around the world, notably the US, through its poorly named but big spending Inflation Reduction Act, are handing out massive incentives to improve green electrification of the economy. Scale and proximity to end users matters in the lithium world. Now, this new business will be closer to the US market through its Canadian operations and indeed through its Argentinian operations. The lithium companies stand to be among the biggest winners of this big spending by governments around the world. And so, as I said earlier, lithium is hot at the moment.
I love the Inflation Reduction Act, and we've talked about that before. Just the fact that is just such a phenomenal amount of money that's being kind of poured into a whole range of different sectors and different projects. It's big, big, big.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, Joe Biden introduced it last year. It's worth about $500 billion in new spending and tax breaks with the aim of boosting clean energy. That's primary. And then reducing healthcare costs. There are a few things like that, but really it is all about clean energy. Massive. And it is actually changing the economics of the green economy.
It's just extraordinary, and it's fascinating watching then how it plays out for a sector like lithium. How did local markets perform yesterday, Sean?
The S&P ASX 200 finished down just a touch to 7,252 points, helped by the tech stocks and hindered by the utility sector. Among the large caps, BHP closed down 1%. Fortescue Metals and Rio Tinto were both off for about 2%. Westpac went ex-dividend, finishing 2.6% lower. WiseTech Global was among the best performers, certainly of the very large caps. It jumped to nearly 3%. Plenty of corporate news, and most of the show is about corporate news, in fact, Michael. Outdoor and sports company KMD Brands named former Crocs executive Megan Welch to head its camping and hiking brand Kathmandu. Few things there. Firstly, she's the third woman to lead a brand within the KMD stable. So the bosses of Rip Curl and Oboz, the US boots brand, they're both women. I like that. Second, Crocs. I have to bring them up with you. I reckon you would have worn them.
What? Why? Why do you think? Have I ever given you that impression?
I've seen what you wear. I reckon you'd be a Crocs wearer just quietly. Maybe not in public.
No, I have never, ever worn Crocs. I've got nothing against them, but I'm just wondering what it is about me that's kind of given you the impression that I am a Crocs wearer, because Crocs wearers they're a particular type of person.
Well, it's funny. My kids wear Crocs.
Well, maybe it's
Maybe
cool.
it's cool. Maybe.
I'm a Bunnings hat, like, the big Bunnings
really?
straw hat kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
in the garden.
Yeah. But I was once informed that, because I saw like a group of young people wearing them all on their way to a music festival. And I pointed it out to Sian and I said, look, they're all wearing Bunnings hats too, because she always tells me that I'm really daggy for wearing it. She goes, no, but see, they're all wearing it ironically. Yeah. And you wear it genuinely. You mean it when you wear it. You're wearing it for the sun protection. I'm like, okay, fair call.
Fair call. Now, let's keep going with this corporate news, because there's a couple of really interesting stories here. So Scentre Group, which owns the Westfield stores, it reconfirmed its revenue outlook. It also provided some numbers. 163 million customer visits in the first 17 weeks of the year. That's about 20 million more than last year. Tenants in Westfield shopping centres reported a 14% jump in sales. Occupancies at 98.9%. Who said shopping centres were dead? They ain't dead. They're back.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. No, I genuinely am. I love shopping centres.
Yeah, I bet you haven't been in one for about 3 months. That would be my guess.
I go to shopping centres all the time because they house bookstores, and I go in there to sign my book, How to Be Remembered, which is on sale in pretty much every bookshop.
Let's move on. Gold producer Silver Lake Resources share price fell 6% after it outlined a revised bid to acquire St Barbara's Gwalia mine in Western Australia. NextDC's raising more than $600 million to build 2 new data centres, adding sites in Malaysia and New Zealand. It's the company's first significant investment outside of Australia, and there's more corporate news to come, Michael.
International markets, what have you got for us?
Well, consumer prices in the US rose again during April due to the cost of services and energy, meaning the Federal Reserve may again increase interest rates at its next meeting in June. The monthly headline consumer price index rose 0.4%, up from 0.1% in March, but the annual rate dropped to 4.9%, which is the first time in 2 years it's been under 5%. The core CPI also increased 0.4%, driven by higher rents, but the annual rate ended down slightly at 5.5%. A little bit of something for everyone in those numbers, but markets were very much waiting on that. The other one I just want to mention, there's a bit going on in coal markets at the moment. China's weak property market and sluggish industrial activity are weighing on coal prices, with media reports saying key industrial users, including steel mills and cement plants, are demanding more discounts on coal. Yesterday, prices fell to their lowest level since late 2021. Of course, coal is important to Australia and our big producers. It's particularly important to the budget bottom line. The price of Australia's other major export, iron ore, has rebounded in recent sessions. That's a bit of good news. It fell below $100 a tonne a week ago. That was its weakest since late last year. It's now back around the $107 a tonne mark.
All right. There is a lot going on at the moment, Sean, and we'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, there's only a 50% chance the Reserve Bank of Australia can reduce inflation below 3% without triggering a recession, according to internal research. That research also reveals that the central bank has considered the possibility of the cash rate rising to 4.8%.
The Reserve Bank released a batch of internal documents under Freedom of Information laws yesterday, including a staff modelling exercise from September last year that concluded the probability of a recession by September 2024 could be as high as 65 to 80%. That's according to a report in the Financial Review. If there is a recession, it's likely to occur in the next 12 months or so. The Reserve Bank is trying to lift interest rates enough to get inflation back into its 2 to 3% target range without triggering a big jump in unemployment. The Reserve Bank defined a recession a little bit differently. Normally, we talk about 2 consecutive negative economic growth rates. That's 2 quarters in a row. The Reserve Bank defined it as any period where the unemployment rate increases 0.75 percentage points higher than its 12-month minimum. Now, the modelling also said lifting the cash rate to 4.8%, that's about 1 percentage point above what it is today, would help the central bank achieve its inflation and unemployment goals more quickly. But who wants to pay those mortgage rates?
No, not me. I'll pass on that one. This is interesting, Sean. Trade Minister Don Farrell left for China yesterday afternoon for trade talks, raising hopes really for an end to Chinese bans on Australian exports.
Senator Farrell is in Beijing for a 2-day visit, meeting Australian business representatives before a formal economic and trade meeting with the Chinese Trade Minister. He'll co-chair the 16th Joint Ministerial Economic Commission talks, which are on today. It's the first time the meeting's been held since 2017. Of course, over the past few years, the relations between Beijing and Canberra have been frosty at best. Now, if this visit is a success, it's likely to open the way for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to visit China later in the year.
Sean, the boom in industrial property shows little sign of abating, with market leader Goodman Group yesterday forecasting higher profits this year.
It's been a pretty remarkable company over the past few years, Goodman, rising from around $14 a share at the beginning of COVID to nearly $20 a share today. It's the 15th largest company on the ASX nowadays. A shortage of space in major cities alongside the e-commerce boom has helped owners of industrial property like Goodman, and the group cut debt at the height of the property boom, and that's held it in good stead as rates have risen. Chief Executive Greg Goodman yesterday said the company had almost zero vacancy and upped his forecast for earnings. Its share price closed up 1%.
Yeah, and it's also good times for farmers, Sean, with GrainCorp upgrading its profit forecast, saying thanks to big wheat shipments, it's on track for its second best ever profit.
The grain handler and marketer's share price jumped 10% yesterday after it upgraded its earnings forecast by about 20%. It was the second upgrade in less than 4 months and came as the group reported a $200 million half-year profit to the end of March. It was down on last year, but that's okay because last year was the best ever. GrainCorp boss Robert Spurway said the upgrade reflected the third consecutive bumper wheat harvest in Eastern Australia and very strong demand as Russia's war in Ukraine continues to disrupt supply chains. The oilseeds business also performed very well.
Now to some not so good news, Sean. Australia's largest legal partnership, HWL Ebsworth, is facing ransom demands from Russia-linked cybercriminals.
That's right. ALPHV, also known as Black Cat, claims it stole 4 terabytes of data from HWLE's servers spanning internal company files and personal employee data. That includes CVs, IDs, financial reports, accounting data, etc. According to the Financial Review, HWLE received a forensic report from advisory firm McGrath-Nicol that identified the entry point for the hacker was a personal device used by a staff member. Simple as that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you would not want to be that staff member, would you?
No, but I mean, but for the grace of God.
Oh,
it absolutely could be anyone.
Oh, it is absolutely the risk, isn't it? And that's why there's so much advice about kind of separating personal devices and professional devices and all of these things. And any one of us could make a simple mistake.
Totally. You really, really do feel sorry for the individual. Now, HWLE expects a ransom to be demanded.
Now, in the world of professional services, there's been a big scandal around tax leaks. The CEO of PwC, one of the major players, stepped down earlier this week, and now other partners and staff face disciplinary action from the main accounting professional body.
This is really big news amongst the accountants and lawyers out there. A former PwC partner, Peter Collins, leaked information about the federal government's tax plans to other partners and staff at PwC, despite signing a series of confidentiality agreements. That was back in 2014, 15, 16. The information was used to sidestep new tax laws. The leaked documents gave PwC an unfair advantage to pitch for work, and it used that advantage. Now, multiple partners were aware of Collins' leaks. Last December, the Tax Practitioners Board terminated his licence, but the scandal continued to grow. Ended up in a Senate inquiry. The Assistant Treasurer got involved. The Greens are speaking about it. Last week, Chief Executive of PwC, Tom Seymour, said partners directly involved in the leaks of tax documents had left the firm. But then he had to concede that he'd received emails about the leaks himself. Back then, that was, and he was aware they were being used to pitch work to clients. Now, on Monday, Seymour stepped down. Another two senior leaders have stepped down in the past couple of days. Now, the main accounting professional body, Chartered Accountants ANZ, is warning that PwC partners and staff involved could face monetary fines and have their right to practice revoked. Not good for PwC, Michael.
Yeah, you can say that again. Now, explosives and chemicals manufacturer Orica has reported a 30% plus jump in both revenue and pre-tax earnings.
I told you it was a very big corporate day. Managing Director and CEO Sanjeev Gandhi said the result reflected hard work last year. He said market conditions are challenging, but sustained high commodity prices have fueled demand for Orica's products and services. Now, Orica is the world's largest explosives company, and one of its main ingredients is ammonia, and that's been supply of ammonia has been a real ongoing challenge. Gandhi said the group remains cautious of external challenges from geopolitics, inflationary pressures, higher energy costs, and supply chain dislocations.
Okay, international news now, and Pakistan's government has called in the military to help quell violent protests after former Premier Imran Khan was arrested and sent to the custody of the anti-graft agency.
Yes, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the protesters were committing an act of terrorism, while the military warned that stern action would be taken against those damaging state and army property. According to Bloomberg, at least 7 people were killed in the past 2 days and scores more injured in protests and clashes with security forces. The escalation in violence comes as Pakistan's economy is in deep distress. Yesterday, Moody's Investors Service warned the nation could default without an International Monetary Fund bailout, as its financing options beyond June are very uncertain.
Finally, Sean, luxury home prices around the world fell during the March quarter for the first time since the global financial crisis.
That's right. An index of prime prices in 46 cities declined 0.4% year over year. Now, that's the first drop since 2009. This is research done by consultancy group Knight Frank. It compares to the 10% growth seen in the fourth quarter of 2021. Quite the turnaround. New Zealand's housing market posted the biggest slump, with luxury home prices in Wellington, Auckland and Christchurch falling by double digits. Major cities, including San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, Hong Kong and Vancouver, also saw prime prices drop. While the overall number was a decline, the actual majority of cities tracked saw prices increase. Dubai was the best, up 44%. I'm sure you're going to ask me about Australian cities.
I was.
Well, we're about the middle of the pack. The best performer during the March quarter was Melbourne, then Gold Coast, Sydney, Perth and Brisbane.
What constitutes a luxury home these days?
In this, it's actually the top 5% of the market. That's how they judge it.
Ah, okay. All right. Because you know how like when you're a kid, you have those kind of benchmarks for what you kind of consider to be wealthy, or like a mansion that you consider like if you're like 7 or 8. And for me, if I walked into a house and in the bathroom there were 2 sinks, 2 basins, I'm like,
yes.
These people are mint.
Do you know, as you know, we're having renovations, and in our bath, Jackie, my bathroom, we have 2 sinks in there. First time ever I've lived in a house with 2 sinks.
Oh, you are flying then, Sean.
I am mint. You are right.
You are mint. Sean Mint Aylmer. Now, very briefly, we have a Mia, most enthusiastic advocate.
Yes.
I have to keep reminding myself of what MIA stands for.
It's a dreadful acronym.
It doesn't roll off the tongue very well, does it? This came in yesterday from Lainey on Instagram, and she said, G'day, Sean and Michael. I would like to nominate myself as a Mia, please. So another self-nomination, which we absolutely love. I'm an MBA candidate and working in energy policy. I enjoy your podcast. It's the first thing I listen to in the morning. It helps me understand what I'm studying in real time. And how about this? Lainey has also encouraged many people at work and in my MBA cohorts to give you both a listen.
Oh, wow.
Which is exactly that's what we want from a Mia, a most enthusiastic advocate. We want enthusiastic advocacy.
We want any advocacy, to be honest, but enthusiastic is the best type. Thank you, Lainey. That's great.
Yeah, an absolute ripper. So Lainey is definitely the Mia for today. Up next is the Fear and Greed Daily interview. You're speaking with Aaron McEwen from Gartner's HR practice.
Yes. What's going on inside the workforce? We're not just talking about numbers. We're talking about individuals, how they're feeling, how they're operating. Great chat.
Yeah, it's coming up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 12th of May, 2023. Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and stay up to date on all the business news with Alexa and your Amazon Echo smart speaker. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play the Fear and Greed podcast, and the latest episode will just start playing. Grab yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.